All right, class. Let me see here. What is this going on? Okay. All right. So, welcome. All right. So, week 5. So, progressing along nicely. All right. So, this week, this first presentation, we're going to talk about training and development. All right. So, it's really important that you have a good training and development approach in your organization because that is what contributes to longevity and success for any company, right? And so companies should always strive to have some kind of training program that the employees can take advantage of, and that management can also use to make sure that the employees have the requisite skills that they need to do their job, and also as a means in which to evaluate our employees in the sense of that we do formal evaluations and we'll see how well people perform their jobs, but also gives us an opportunity to see who is, ambitious and kind of takes the initiative to do as much training and to just get better and develop themselves as they go along. So this is a useful tool and a great way to see, who are the go getters and kind of the people that are always aspiring to, be better in their particular field. All right. So let's look at some training and development, right? So training and development, because of course, is just an ongoing investment, as the slide says, right? It's a continuous process in which the company realizes that employees are important and that without the employees, you're really not going to do well. And so the company, takes the approach of, let's put some money aside that we're going to allocate to training. The important part is trying to figure out what training that's going to be, right? You have your kind of general broad type training that everyone has to take, but then you have your more specific type training where people, are doing training based on their particular job and what they do, and that kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, so I was talking about training and development for this week. Okay, and the importance of training and development and why companies do it. So really, there's a couple of reasons as I stated earlier. One is to enhance the abilities of the employees, right? So enhance abilities translates to enhanced productivity, enhanced efficiency, and more money for the company, right? Because you have more skill sets, people can do more things, and I can also train someone to do multiple things where I don't have to hire somebody else. I just kind of put it into their job description and maybe pay them a little extra, but you really don't get that. Okay. The other thing about training and development is that it's used in many ways as a performance evaluation. All right. And it's kind of a two-pronged approach. One is that I use, training and development to see, how well you're doing your job and how, you're picking up on things. Okay. How, you learn things and how you incorporate them into your day-to-day job. The other thing I use training and development for is to kind of figure out who are the go getters, right? Who are the people that are trying to take the initiative and learn things that aren't necessarily forced on them or not necessarily mandated by the company to learn, right? So you have some people, they want to know everything, right? They want to be as well rounded as possible, and so any training that comes up, they take it. You have other people, they don't want any parts of training. They know what they know, and they don't want to get any better. They don't want to develop any, right? Those type of people are not probably necessarily leadership material. Okay, so this is how you kind of start separating people out, right? When people have identical kind of records of achievements, and you start separating out, like, okay, who's been doing the extra training? Who's got the extra certifications? Who's got the extra stuff, right? And that breaks you out because that shows me, like, hey, you are going above and beyond and you're trying to better yourself. and to also understand the different facets of what's going on in the company, right? And you're trying to bring an extra toolkit. Now, what you're training on may not necessarily have anything to do with the company, right? But it's the point of that, the training that you're doing is going to better you, and maybe you can incorporate it somewhere along the ways that for the work that you do for the company, right? And so training and development is extremely important, and it really is one of the key components in a successful organization, all right? So part of the need for training a lot of times is that there's new technology, right? New things coming on board, new ways of doing things. And so the company wants to implement those new ways because it's a cost savings, right? If something's going to save me 10%, 20%, from the cost, then I'm going to probably do it as a company, right? It's not going to cost me any extra, maybe just a one-time cost for training, or maybe, I'll lose, some man hours, right? I lose some man hours because people will be going to training instead of going to work. But at the same time, it's going to come back tenfold, when I get everyone to be on board with this training, or it's organizational wide training where, hey, we are, we're putting in new systems, right? And these new systems are gonna, make your job easier. They're gonna make the customer experience better, all right? And so we're gonna do this, and in a year, we're gonna transition out of the way we do it now to a new way, uh, via the training and development platform. And so companies, will take that and take that one-time cost and do that, all right? And because again, they could write it off on their taxes, but it's going to benefit them at the end of the day. It's going to benefit the company. So technologically speaking, you want to stay ahead, especially this day and age. Everything's about technology, all right? The better your technology, the more likely you are to succeed, in the corporate environment, because the consumers want technology, and it's not the technology they really are after. It's what the technology does. If you look at technology, what's the one thing that technology is really good at, or technology has provided, I guess, to people?
Come again, please.
So what's the one thing that, oh, there's many things, but what's one thing that technology is kind of the one of the main things? What's one of the main thing that technology, I guess, offers to individuals, right? The use of technology. What is
I think
go ahead.
speed and accuracy.
Speed and accuracy for sure. Yeah, for sure. But as an individual, right? Yeah, speed and accuracy. So stay on that line, right? Speed and accuracy. Okay. What does speed and accuracy kind of lead to for yourself, right? What does that mean? Does that, you know,
Efficiency.
efficiency? Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Nobody else? Technology is really about convenience,
Oh yeah.
right? About convenience. And I know I probably didn't pose the question super clear, because I know there could have been a gazillion answers. Though the two you gave are actually top two, top three. Speed and accuracy. But for us individually, it's about convenience. For a company, it's about speed and accuracy, and then trying to get the customer experience to be even better, right? But it's still about convenience at the end of the day, right? Because a lot of consumers, they're concerned about, hey, can I have 24/7 access to your company when I have an issue? Okay, and I need you to be available. And so because of these technological changes, companies don't want to fall behind in their customer experience, right? And so they take this technology and they implement it, but you have to train your folks, your workforce on, how do I use this technology, right? How do I incorporate or integrate it into my daily workflow, my work processes, and so that it's seamless, it's actually beneficial, it helps the customer, but it also helps the organization, right? And so technology at this point right now is probably the biggest indicator or the biggest component of training, all right? Because a lot of the training is about, okay, How do we, use certain systems now, right? How do we, this thing's automated now. How do I get to use it and get people to understand what it does, right? Not necessarily all the intricacies, but in general, they get a good idea of what it is that needs to be done. The other thing that training and development is useful for is when we, redesign something, okay? Um, and when we redesign something, right, it's not that we're adding any new technology. We're just revamping a system we already have, right? When maybe we're enhancing it and adding things to it. But again, people need to be trained on those things, right? Anything new that you're adding to an existing system or platform, you have to train the folks to use it, right? You have to give them some time to learn it, to become familiar with it, become comfortable with it, and then become proficient in it. Okay, comfortable, um, familiar, comfortable, then proficient. And then once they become proficient with it, this is when you're going to start seeing the real results for the company. All right. All right. Another one is mergers and acquisitions. So M&A, sometimes when companies get together, or they acquire a company or they merge, whatever the case may be, um, some of the systems that they have are totally different. All right. So if I buy, like Google bought, was it Google or Facebook? One of bought Snapchat. I can't remember. Whoever bought Snapchat. Okay. Um,
Facebook.
Facebook bought Snapchat, right? I'm sure there was some, level of training that went on because Facebook had to get familiar with the Snapchat processes because they didn't really change anything because they didn't want to change anything. And Snapchat had to get used to the Facebook admin or that Facebook organizational structure. Again, back to training, right? Have to train. If you have a boss and your boss is not interested in training and developing you, you need to go and find another boss. Okay, that's your boss's job, and I think we've talked about this before. This is the job of a boss, of a supervisor, of a manager, of a leader, right? Is to develop those underneath them so that those folks can become better and assume more responsibility and more of a role in the organization. Okay. Even if they go someplace else and use that skill set someplace else, that's okay. All right. That's okay because the same thing's happening to the organization. You're getting other people who have attained skills from other places. All right. So you have to make sure that, all right, if we're doing an M&A, that we understand what each company is bringing to the table as far as system and processes, and that we want to make sure that the people understand what's going on. But the only way you can do that is through training and development, right? Um, and then globalization, really, right? Understanding that, okay, what's happening in the United States is not what's happening in Africa or India or Turkey or any place else in the world, right? Same thing, vice versa. Things that the way they do things in India, or Turkey, or you know, um, the Europe in general is not the same way as they do it everything any place else. So as we become more globalized, we have to become more familiar with, how things are done in whatever host nation we're at. Okay. And so that leads to training and development. One of the things that, you know, um, I'm sure you guys do, not you per se, because you guys are in DBA programs. So I don't know if you guys actually do this, but I know all international students have to go through some training and development specifically for Microsoft Office Suite, specifically PowerPoint. All right, they have to learn PowerPoint and that kind of thing. And at the bigger schools, they have these training programs because we understand that PowerPoint is not used everywhere. Okay, PowerPoint is not something that's you know a global, worldwide, universal thing. All right, I don't have you. Did you guys ever use PowerPoint before you came to the States?
Yes.
Okay, so can you use that? Anybody else use PowerPoint before the States?
Yes, but not much. Like
Not much. Okay, yeah,
rarely.
barely. Okay,
I think
so
there are other competitors to PowerPoint, so they use several presentation. There's several presentation platforms.
yeah, there's a
Is
lot
that
of them.
correct?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there, It's just that for the United States, that's what they wanted to use because of Microsoft, right? And so it worked very well, but there were other, things that are capable. But at the same time, as we become more globalized, we have to, not only train and develop folks, on how to use systems, we have to train and develop people on, cultural aspects of where they're going, right? Understanding that you can't do this in, whatever country, and this is not going to happen in this country, or expect this, right? That's something that training and development definitely has a role in, right? Because anytime you take an international assignment, before you go, you have at least a week or two of training, right? Cultural things, values, what certain things mean, give you a very short, limited, cachet of important words, right? Bathroom, help, stop, those kind of things, right? We train you up to kind of help you get acclimatized to the situation until you can have a deeper understanding of the language and the culture by being immersed in it, right? But prior to that, you're just walking in blind, all right? You're just walking in like, I don't know, if I go to India, I don't know, what to do. I don't know what, I have to just learn, but I'm going to get some training beforehand to understand that, you know, they don't have hamburgers per se. I don't know. Do they have hamburgers in India?
No.
No hamburgers. That's what I thought. No hamburgers, right? You got
They
chicken
don't
burgers though.
eat, yeah, they don't eat
Don't eat the cow.
that's banned in India. So because it's their holy god,
Yeah. Yep.
that's why.
Yeah. So, and the only reason I knew that is because I had been trained on India, on some aspects of India, right? Nothing big, just a couple of things that are pretty much common knowledge that you should know, so you don't offend anyone. Okay, and that's the whole point.
Cultural things.
Was that?
I said
But
cultural things.
yeah, cultural awareness, right? Cultural intelligence, right? And so, that's where training comes in when, you're talking about, globalized business, right? We're talking about globalization and people, companies having a multinational footprint, all right? All right. So for the individual, all right, it's really about them just getting better, right, and making themselves more marketable, and also making sure that they are secure in their job, right? Because if I can train you and you become, what we call the Swiss Army knife, right? Anybody ever heard that term, the Swiss Army knife? And that means you can do a number of things, all right? You're trained up on a lot of things. That makes you more attractive. That makes you more marketable because now I can employ you in a variety of ways and I don't have to go spend extra money. Okay. I don't have to go spend extra money to go get a person to do it when I know you can do it. All right. And that's through training. And so that helps with the individual as far as, them feeling that, training and development is an important aspect of their job, right? And an important aspect of their life and trying to get that done. From the organization standpoint, right? You definitely, like I said, you're gonna improve the bottom line because you're adding skill sets to your employees' toolbox that they didn't have before that they will hopefully incorporate and integrate into their day-to-day activity. Okay. It helps you again put people in positions that you may have that arise that okay, um, you know, Keen, you speak a couple different languages. All right, well, great. We're going to provide you more training, but we need you to take this position or to manage this account, and the account that is from a company that is from Africa, right? And that'd be great. They would be from Nigeria. They'd be very happy to have a rep account manager who speaks the language, right? That's not something that everybody can do, right? Or same thing with Fatima, like, hey, they want somebody that speaks the language, or it can be, or either anybody, right? But for the company, it's really a force multiplier because it really helps the company kind of put people in places and use them in areas where they wouldn't have to have any extra expense, and they can kind of tap into a certain skill set that their competition doesn't necessarily have, right, or may not have. Okay, so That's from an organizational standpoint, right? So when you are kind of, looking at your training, right, you're really trying to figure out, okay, what type of training do I need, right? Because there's training that is applicable to the whole organization, and then there's training that's individualized or based on your job. Okay, and so you have to look at the type of training you're trying to do, right? Is it organizational? Is it task training, or is it individual training? Okay, from an organizational standpoint, we're gonna have training on sexual harassment, discrimination in the workplace, those very broad brush topics that are more societal issues or conditions we need to talk about. Task, we'll look at, hey, all right, what are you doing? All right, what's your job? Okay. And once I know what your job is, maybe we'll get some specific training for that. Okay. Individually, that's up to you, right? That's more or less like, okay, what would you like to learn or develop to make yourself a better person, a better employee, a better whatever. Okay. So you have your different perspectives that you have to look at and find figure out, okay, when do I apply that training? When is that training appropriate? And that kind of thing, and figure out, okay, what exactly am I trying to achieve here? Okay, what am I trying to achieve? And so as you start to figure out what kind of training you're doing and who the audience is, you'll come up with your objectives, okay, and how you're going to do it. All right. And then really it's trying to figure out if I'm going to, what method am I going to use to do it, right? Am I going to use PowerPoint? Am I going to use, kind of a practical application format? Am I going to use Teams? Am I going to use on the job training, right? There's a lot of different ways in which to design and deliver training, right? Am I going to do it on the internet, right? The tutorial type, evaluate or the training, right? So you have to kind of look at, okay, how that works. And the important thing about training really is, the transfer of learning. Okay. So how do I know that you actually learned what it is I was training you on? How would I know that? Anybody.
Did you say how do you know if a student has learned, right?
Yes. How would I know that?
Okay, for instance, practically, if he or she is able to state your objective, as in if you ask him, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and is able to state that, you can say learning has taken place.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely one way, right? I can get it through oral observation, right? I can see, okay? But all that falls under an evaluation, really, right? I'm trying to evaluate the candidate and evaluate the student to see if the transfer of learning has occurred, okay?
Yeah, another way is if there's a change in behavior, if it's observed, if a change in behavior is observed, you can say learning has taken place. So for instance, maybe an injection is supposed to be given through the muscles, but they kept on giving it through the subcutaneous layer. Sorry, I'm a nurse. That's why I'm using it. And then you have a training and say this is the best way to give this kind of injection. And then over a period of, say, like a week after the training, you find out that everybody is consistently giving the injection in the right location and through the right place, via the right muzzle or subcutaneous layer. So you can say, yes, learning has taken place.
Perfect, right? Exactly what Edith said, right? You can see through evaluation, or you can see through practical application that everyone is doing what it is they had trained on, right? And it's just going to take a little time to maybe become proficient. But the fact that learning has transferred, right? Learning has occurred because you can see it through the evaluation process, okay? And so you have to make sure that you have some evaluation or some feedback loop when you do training, because you want to know, one, is the training even like, did it work? Okay, is really what I'm looking at. Did it work? Was the training, if it didn't work, was it because of the trainer? Was it because of the way that the training was, presented? Right? Was the training, not relevant, or was it not important to certain people in the group? Right? Is the training maybe old and not necessarily, the newest and the latest and greatest? And so all those things come from the evaluation process as to figuring out, okay, whether transfer of training really occurred. All right. All right. So now I think, okay, we already kind of talked about needs assessments. Okay. On an organizational level, when we're looking at, why do I need training, right? Um, does it relate somehow to the organizational objectives? Okay. Is it going to help me with my, my cost, right? Is it going to lower costs and increase profits? From an organizational standpoint, that's what we was looking at. What are the benefits of the training, right? Is it going to, help me to save some money, right? Which I can in turn use for other things, maybe bonuses, raises, that kind of thing, right? From a task level, right? We look at, hey, what are the responsibilities of the job? Okay, at the end of the day, and what skills and what knowledge should I have in order to do this job, right? And so you may look at that and say, okay, this kind of training is necessary, and so we're going to do it. And I also have to look at, if I have something going, like a task going on, and I don't train someone, what's going to happen, right? What's the outcome, right? So think about this. Everybody heard about the condo that collapsed in Florida, right? Everybody familiar with that situation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, I always think, okay, it's a building. So that means probably an architect, civil engineer, had a hand in building the construction company, whatever. All right, had a hand in building the building. But why would the building collapse like that? Okay. And to me, I think like, oh, I automatically go, whoever was doing the building, whoever was maintaining the building and inspecting the building, wasn't trained. All right. They were kind of stuck in their old ways and not necessarily up to the codes that that need to be looked at and adhered to. And so if you're not trained up and developed properly, and you don't know what you're going to do in most situations, and you're going to fake it because no one else doesn't know you don't know. Like like when I teach my statistics class, none of the students in the class know statistics for the most part. Okay, how would they know if I made a mistake? They wouldn't. They wouldn't, because I know it, so I can cover my tracks, right? I may be giving you the wrong information too, right? So you have to look at the consequences of someone not being trained up fully. All right, trained up to a point where they're not a hazard to the consumer. Right, think about you going to the hospital and there's an emergency and you get the doctor that hasn't learned the newest procedure, but that's the way they're doing it. All right. He's not proficient at it. He or she kind of just saw it the other day. And now they want them to, hey, Fatima comes in and we got to do this to Fatima. And you don't know. You're laid out. You're like, okay, and then you wake up and guess what? You're missing a foot. Okay. Well, wrong foot, buddy. It's the other foot.
Why are you scaring me? Like, why mine? Why not Aki Kevi or anyone else? Why me?
You're not going to your foot, okay? Your foot's gonna be fine. You're not going to the hospital. All right. And this is something, and I only bring that example up because this is something that I went through. Not me personally went through, but I saw at a hospital before, where, and it happens quite often, where the poor training leads to doctors cutting off the wrong part. Okay. What's up, Keem?
Yeah, I was just going to, I mean, I was going to ask that question earlier, but I'm glad you raised that issue of, who is training the trainers, because it happens a lot in Africa. And you see situations where people are being trained the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they tell you they're going through trainings, but their training is either outdated or either unnecessary.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they they don't they don't conform to the global this thing. They come over to another, maybe an advanced setting, like leaving Africa, coming over to Europe or America or to Japan or to China, and you realize that you're more or less beginning again.
Yeah.
So who, I mean, how do they standardize training? How do they? Is there any way which you can enforce in the industry right now, which I'm talking about? The
So
industry where training is.
yeah, it all depends on what level you're talking about. Okay, if you're talking about city level or state level stuff, right? There's a codified metrics of, okay, you need this certain level of training, right, to do whatever you're going to do. The more global you become, the more intense the training requirements become. Okay, this is why you don't see anyone on the global level, right? On they know what they're talking about. Okay, there's a reason why if you look at people that are in power and kind of the people that are doing a lot of these things at a high level, right? Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Brown, Oxford, you hear this is what you hear because these institutions have proven themselves as excellent places of training. Not to say people that go any place else is not good. It's not that that's not the case. It's just that those places have established themselves as premier places of training, all right? And so because of that, there's certain requirements at each level that have to be met, right? Or else you're not going to go and be in that level, right? When it comes to training and developing. So you have to have a certain amount of skill and exposure to certain things. There's different bodies that control that stuff, but they're normally internal to that industry.
Let me give a good example. Like when I mean, in Africa, I used to work with C++, Java.
Mm-hmm.
That was the in thing when you want to develop software and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you just come over to the developed world and I mean, even before I came over, I was being told by a friend of mine that, hey, if you don't know about Python, because of its agility, because of its how it's being used in such an, you get a job. And I'm like, oh, I thought I've been an IT guy for 20 years.
Yeah.
And right now I'll have to, start all over again because different language. Well, not really start all over again, but you are relegated.
Right.
Because they're gonna choose those people. I mean, I don't see companies waiting for you to learn it. Or right. Let me say many companies. They want people who are already picked, who are ready to, to go. So I have to go and between crash courses and things like that. So I wanted to ask how, there was a time, there was a Cisco standard, there was a Microsoft standard. You start doing MCS, CM, those kind of standards.
Right.
And you wonder, did I ever go to school? So how do they bring down from the top, like the apex companies which you're talking about? How do they, transfer those knowledge down to the companies, to those startups at the side of the road or in the garage or something like that?
Yeah. Well, it really depends on what it is you're doing, right? Because every company has their own, kind of agenda as to what they use and what they don't use, right? So, for instance, like I said, I'm getting a master's in artificial intelligence, right? And it's all about neural networks, and I use Python. Okay, but Python is kind of universally accepted as a coding language for artificial intelligence, right? There's other ones, but that's the most prominent one right now. But I can go to another company and they go, well, we don't want Python, we need C++, right? Or we need Java, or we need Ruby Rails or something like that, right? So it all depends really on the company and what it is that they're doing, what platform is necessary for them. That's why there's so many of them. And that's why there's no standard, because each one is different and it serves different purposes for each company. So you can't necessarily say, the only reason Microsoft you could say, hey, this certification here, this certification here, this certification here, is because Microsoft was the only company doing what it does. All right. There was really no other word processing or suite that provided PowerPoint, database, word processing all in one package the way it did. So if you wanted to learn how to do that and wanted to become an expert in that, you'd have to go to the Microsoft school, right? Or Microsoft training. And so Microsoft established their certification levels internally, and that became the norm across the board. Because if I need people that understand Microsoft, and Microsoft has an internal structure, has internal ranking, so that becomes a norm. And because Microsoft is the number one leader, the world leader in what it does, it kind of demands that, hey, if you want to do this in Microsoft, you're gonna have to do this because everybody uses Microsoft, and this is just the way it is, right? But you can't do that in Python. You can't do that in a lot of other things. Medicine is probably the one place where you can kind of get that standardization of training levels, right? So I'm gonna eat it. I have a question, right? So if you were to leave the United States and go back home to Nigeria, could you get a job as a nurse?
Yes, I can, because I'm a registered nurse also in Nigeria.
You're a registered nurse in Nigeria, right? So are the standards different from here in the in Nigeria?
Yes, the standards for becoming a nurse in the two different countries are different.
Okay, so which one's harder?
Becoming a nurse in the United States, if you are not educated in the United States, is harder.
It's harder.
So yes, so you have a lot of procedures and processes, trainings. So they have to evaluate your educational level, your curriculum, your results, and make sure that it's at par with what is expected for United Nurses training curriculum. So that is where the problem is. But Nigeria has a well-developed curriculum for nurses. So depending on the type of school that you went to. So being a private school, because I went to a private university, the educational standard is at par with that of the US. So I had to take up, having taken my professional exam in Nigeria to become a nurse, you also have to take NCLEX exam, which is qualifying exam here in the US before you become a registered nurse. So the standards are pretty different. The requirements are different, but the basic education that will qualify you for those for the evaluation, the basic education is basically the same or similar.
Yeah.
Although the learning context might be different. So in Nigeria, we demonstrate a lot we actually don't get to do. So, and then we use a lot of, we call it like modeling.
Yeah, modeling, yeah.
As against the real
simulation.
Exactly. So we simulate, Mostly in Nigeria, we simulate.
Yeah.
But here you get the practical. So they say this is oxygen tank and this is how to put an intubator. You actually get to put the intubator here on the man, on the patient. So the hands-on are different.
Yeah.
But the basic curriculum content are the same. So experientially, it's better. US, I would say, is better because you get to have more experience and get more hands-on in the training.
Okay.
And being trained in Nigeria.
Okay. But at the end of the day, as Edith said, the training's the same, right?
Yeah.
You can't really change medicine. You can't change the body.
No, we use basically the same textbook. Medical surgical nursing is the same textbook everywhere in the world. So we cannot change that.
Yeah, no changing that. And there's no changing math.
Right? Math is math. 1 plus 1
matter,
is
right? So there's a standardized level of that at every, now it all depends on, again, at what level are you doing the math, right? Are you doing it at a federal level? You doing it at a national level? Are you at the UN, right? Doing math stuff, or you with the local high school doing math stuff? You
Mm.
know, each one has their own kind of like, okay, this is how we train these folks to do certain things because of the impact that you're gonna have based on what you're doing. And so it's really depending on this on the the industry as to what kind of standards they have. And they may not have universal standards. They may just say, you know what, and yeah, in I don't know, whatever country, we do it this way. You come to the States, everybody, from what I've heard, everybody says the schools in the States are harder than the schools abroad for the most part. And I don't necessarily think that's necessarily true. I just think that there's just an association with going to school in the United States and getting training in the United States that equates to more money. So um, that's kind of where I think it kind of sits at. You know, Akeem, did we answer your question at least a little bit? Did you hear me? Akeem, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Um, all right. So let's move on. All right. So when you're looking at, trying to set your training objectives, you really need to go back and look at, okay, what are we doing? What are our organizational objectives? Okay. What are organizational objectives? What is the department objectives? What is the section objectives? And then you can set the training objectives, because the training objectives have to align with what our goal is, right? If our goal is to, produce computers or whatever the case may be, then I need people that are proficient in hardware, right? I'm not going to train them on software because I don't necessarily need that right now. I need hardware. And so you have to look at the objectives of the organization, look at the objectives of the department or the section you're working on. You can even have to look at the objectives of the team, right? And that particular project we're working on, to figure out, how do I train folks, right? Because we just can't train people on just anything, all right? It has to line up with what it is our objectives are at the highest levels, okay? Because all of that training and putting, the development into people feeds into the organization, because the aim is for the organization to keep moving on and to get bigger and bigger and to get better. But you're not going to do that if your organization is about, I don't know, making shoes, and you're training on making sneakers or something, or training on other things not associated with the objectives of the company. Okay. So you really want to get in there and look at, okay, how how do I, kind of look at the objectives of the company and integrate those into my training objectives. Okay. And integrate the department objectives, or even some of my own personal objectives, right? And trying to get those things accomplished. I may want the training because I want to get better at a certain thing. All right. And so I take the training, and it may not necessarily have anything to do directly with the company, but at some point it will help the company. Okay. At some point it will help the company because I'm helping myself. All right. All right. All right. So when we talk about design and delivery, and Edith kind of touched on this earlier, right? This is an important aspect of learning and training, because everybody doesn't learn and train the same. All right. Everybody doesn't develop the same. Some people are very auditory. All right. They listen to something and then boom, they got it. Other people, they have to see it. Like, they have to kind of see it on the board visually. Be in front of someone. Like, okay, I see it. But other people have to do it. They can hear it, see it, but until they do it and touch it, right? What we call tactile learning, all right? Called tactile learning. And when I touch stuff and I kind of get into it, that's the only way some people learn, all right? And sometimes you have people that can only learn that way. Sometimes you have people that learn all three ways. But the thing is with learning and training is that there's no way for you to train everyone on their own individual personal learning style. Okay. And so you have to pick one that you think makes sense, that's going to offer you the best training opportunity. Okay. And so this is why we use PowerPoint in schools, because it helps to deliver the information on a grand scale, right? It helps to control things, and helps me to convey what I need to convey to you and try to help you to learn. But a lot of times you'll learn this stuff, but you really don't get it till you actually get to your job, and you're like, oh, you know what? Let me try this. We talked about it in class. I'm going to try it, and then you see, oh, that worked. It kind of worked, but then this happened, right? And like, okay, I don't remember reading about this, right? And so people have to get in there and kind of see what they can learn, but everybody learns differently, right? And so because of that, the delivery and the design of the training is important, because you want to be able to keep people's attention as much as you can, right? And so, and this is just my personal opinion, that when you are typically teaching class, I don't like to do classes more than an hour. That's just me, because I feel that after 30 minutes, you kind of phase out into la la land, right? You start thinking about other things, right? Because as humans, we don't necessarily focus very well, okay? And so we're gonna start thinking about other things. Yes, we may be interested in the topic, and unless it's something that you know is super interesting, a lot of people start veering off, right? And so you have to come up with different approaches within the training in order to keep the audience engaged, right? And that's why you'll hear me ask questions like, okay, hey, tell me what you think, tell me what your thoughts are, or you have your own comments, like tell me what your comment is, right? You're staying engaged and staying involved in the conversation, in the training, even if the training is to the point, or I'm keeping you involved, like even with Fatima's like, well, I got to be the one to go to the hospital, right? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm happy that she's paying attention, because she just could end up at the hospital and not know it, right? And so she's paying attention, and she's like, okay, I'm getting it. She doesn't want, she may not want to be involved, but now she is involved because her name's being used, and all of a sudden she's at the hospital losing her foot. So she doesn't want that, right? I just
It's a
just
simple cut, a paper cut. That's why I have to go to the hospital to get stitches. Okay, keep it that simple. We don't have to cut my leg or anything.
Well, okay. Well, we're gonna downgrade Fatima to just getting stitches. Okay, matter of
Yeah.
fact, she just going there to see a friend. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nothing for her medically. Okay, but the way you deliver the information, the design of it, this is why it's important, like how you format your PowerPoints, right, and what they look like. Because if the PowerPoint is very sloppy, or it's too long, or something's going on with it, it's very hard for me to keep up with it, right? And I don't want to keep up with it because it's just too much work, right? You got 8 colors, you got things coming in all over here, you got 5 different fonts, there's a grammatical error, there's this little thing that are just like catching my attention, and I'm not paying attention to the training, right? And so you have to be cognizant of that, right? The culture of the organization should also be something that you take into consideration as to you know how the training goes, right? Because the leadership should be supportive of the training that is being done, because at the end of the day, again, it enhances the capabilities of the company. Okay, that's really what it boils down to. It gives the company a better outlook, a better chance of longevity down the road. Who else is in here? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right. So if we're doing computer-based instruction, right, which we're kind of doing here, sort of, right? Um, it's self-paced, which is a good thing, somewhat. Okay. It's not expensive, or as expensive as in person, and it's convenient, really, is what when it boils down to it. It's super convenient for everyone, okay? Because now we are all in different locations, we're in a classroom, but at the same time, when we get done, we can go back to our lives immediately, okay? So it's very convenient. Some of the downside, though, is that you have to be, self-motivated. You have to want to take the initiative to sit down, learn, be, on class on time, do your work on your own, that kind of thing, right? The cost of, the content is another thing, right? Who's creating these PowerPoints? Who's putting together this information, right? And so that also costs money, right? And then people not necessarily being involved, or having a hard time staying engaged in the training, right? Doesn't always, is always a problem when you come to computer-based instruction, just because it's not the most exciting thing. Okay. And so you have to figure out, how do I find a way in which to get these folks into it. Okay. So once you're done with, figuring out how you're going to deliver it, you need to figure out, okay, how am I going to evaluate it? All right. And evaluation, like we said before, is extremely important, because then I can know, okay, where do I need to fix it? There might be some issues with the training. It's boring. It's not relevant. The person delivering the training, it doesn't know what they're talking about. All right. And so all these things, the venue, even the time of the training. Okay. When I was in the military, there's one time in the day you don't do training, or you just hate training, right? It's after lunch. After lunch, people come back, they don't want to train, they want to sleep. Okay? They want to sleep. And so you have a lot of people, you see them, you join the training, and they're like like this, right? They just ate. They're full, right? They need some coffee or something. Okay? So even the time of day is important about the train. The venue, right? Is it too cold? Is it too hot? Right? Is it hazardous? Right? All that stuff is all stuff you need to take into account about the training and the training venue and how you're going to do it. So if I have a training, like sometime before, my boss like, hey, we're going to do some training, but I need you to pick a venue that's fun and chill, and everybody's going to enjoy. Okay, fine, no problem. What's my budget? All right. So sometimes I'd say, sir, we're going to go to Vegas and do training there. But okay, cool. All right. Switch it up. All right. Switch it up a little bit. Sometimes we'll say, hey, we're going to do training. It's going to be a retreat, and you could bring your wife or your husband with you. All right. And we'll pay for it. Okay. So you have to kind of switch up the training to make it a little more exciting and incorporate those things that will keep people motivated. All right. Let's see here. I can't see this, whatever it is. 4-level training. Okay. All right. So levels of training evaluation. Really, at the end of the day, I'm concerned about the results. Okay. I'm concerned about the results. I'm concerned about the behavior. If the results and the behavior are good, then the learning and the reaction were probably decent. Okay. So if behavior and, I see the behavior being exhibited, and it's, translated into results that are positive, and then I'm like, okay, that works for me. Okay. And some of the measures, of course, especially with the results is, did it save me money? Right? Did it increase profit? Is, the morale better? Is there less turnover? Productivity? Did quality improve? Right? Less accidents. All right. Those are all ways to measure the results, right? And so when you look at the evaluation process, this one of these 4 ways you kind of figure out, okay, how good was this training? All right. All right. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So how does training align itself with competition and performance management? Excuse me. As I said earlier, right? You get the training, you do well, all right? You perform well. Guess what? That's going to affect your compensation, all right? Because then, one, people are going to see, oh, you got a new skill set. 2, they're going to see, oh, you do it well and you're very proficient at it. 3, they're going to say, well, we need to either promote that person or give that person more of an incentive to keep performing the way they're performing, right? And so the compensation, performance management, and training are all kind of looped in together, right? If you actually look at it, it's like a little loop, right? I get some training, it helps me to perform better, it impacts my compensation, right? Same thing. I go back to training, performance management, compensation. Okay. And so because compensation is, one of the major factors is people being employed, of course, right? Pay, bonuses, that kind of thing, right? It's an easy thing for me to attach it to performance management and to attach it to training, right? You want to make more money, get more training. Okay, get more training, because you get more training, that means you're going to have enhanced performance, which is going to show me that you need a raise. Okay, because you're doing things, you're kind of stepping up and trying to improve yourself. That means improving the company. All right. Okay, so for the next 30 minutes, what I like to do is do a quick exercise, okay? So what I want you to do is go to the internet and come up with 3 training methods that you find on the internet, okay? You can do this in teams of 2 if you want, 2 or 3. Let me see how many people we have. We got Femi, Kemi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we can have one group of 3 and one group of 2. Okay. And what I want you to do is to research 3 training methods. I want you to discuss the training methods. All right. Not too long. Just kind of describe it. Then I want you to give me the advantages and disadvantages of those particular methods. Okay. 3 slides at most. Okay. And then once we're done with that, each
So
group.
this works homework, or is it
No, this
just
is right
an
now.
extra?
For right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you guys can kind of work on it and then present it in 30 minutes. Okay. Matter of fact, you know what? It's probably better. I'm gonna let you guys do it individually. It's probably better because it's gonna be hard for you to guys go to breakout rooms. Do you guys know how to do breakout rooms?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
All right. So everybody will do it individually. Okay. Come up with,
Okay.
search the internet, find 3 training methods, describe the methods, give me the advantages and disadvantages of each of the methods. Okay.
Training methods, you're saying, right?
Huh?
Training methods for
Yeah. Training
workplace.
methods. Yeah. Training methods. Right. Yep. Okay. All right. And you'll present your training methods analysis or summary to the class. Okay. So you got 30 minutes from now. So that means we will reconvene at 7. Okay. 7:02. All right. Everybody good with that? All right. You can go. You can start. Anybody have any questions or anybody good? Good, good.
So how many minutes are we coming back? Sorry.
30 minutes. You come back at 7:02.
You said what? I'm not
30
getting
minutes. 7:02.
7:02. Okay, okay, okay.
You have 30 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problems. All righty. Everybody ready?
Almost.
Almost. All right. Let me see. All right, already. So, all right. All right. Akeem, let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Ready?
Um,
No worries. I mean,
I'm ready.
okay, you ready? Okay, looks like the ladies are ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead, and since I've been picking on Fatima the whole day, the whole class, I'm gonna see if Fatima wants to go first. You wanna go first, Fatima?
Fatima wants to go first.
Okay. Fatima will be first. Let me give you the can you request it? What the heck just happened?
Bye.
Fatima, what's going on with this?
I
Request,
can't.
huh?
Host disable participants screen sharing.
Yeah. So we can you request to share? Let me see if I can give you. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see if I can. Nope, I don't think I can do that. How do I share with you? It's a pain in the butt. Give mouse keyboard control. I don't want that. See, Tima, is there a button for you to press that says request sharing?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out as well.
Yeah. Should have probably looked at that.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. There it is. Cool. All right. The floor is yours.
Can you see my screen or no?
No, not yet. Let me see here.
I just control your screen.
Yeah, you just control my screen. Wait for Tima to control your screen. Yeah, so you have control over it. So go ahead.
How do I do it?
Let me see here.
I control your screen. I don't have the.
You have control. You have the remote control.
Yeah.
You have remote control, so you can move it around any way you want.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is weird. Okay.
So go to share. Go to share on yours.
I can't anymore because I'm seeing your screen now.
Okay.
You have Apple and so many apps.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me see.
It says only host can share.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Fatima, where are you?
Okay, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
It's not letting me do it. I tried.
It's not letting you do the screen share?
Nope. Host disable participant screen sharing. I can see a screen and I can do like whatever I want to do with your screen, but not like, see, I can change your screen.
Huh. Okay. Let me see here.
I'm going to stop that.
Your screen sharing. Okay. So weird. All right, try again. Try to request sharing.
Okay. I can only request remote control. I'm trying to figure out more options.
No worries.
Can we send it to your email and then you just open it up from there?
Yeah, We can, but there's an easier way to do it. There's a way for me to be able to share.
Yeah, I don't have my laptop. I know there's a way you can say stop sharing and
Okay.
then you give every other person access.
Okay. Let's do this
But
instead.
right now we can still see your screen.
Yeah. Let's do this instead. Right. So don't worry about like popping up on my screen. Just give it to us. Go ahead, Fatima.
Okay, I'm going first, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi everyone. So my three topics that I chose is on-job training, mentoring, and experiential training. What is on-job training? So basically, like Professor mentioned in the class, we'll go to Vegas and we'll do the training. So they take a bunch of new employees and they start the training on the job. What are the advantages of it? It's simple, it's economical, it's quick learning. How is it simple? They teach everything at the same time. You don't waste money, you don't waste time. And they make it quick and simple. They make it as fast as possible. And they make it quick. The disadvantages. It's a rushed process. Like they want quantity over quality. They want to get it done ASAP. That's one of the biggest disadvantage of on-job training. The second is chaotic. Because there's so many people in the room, it's hard to concentrate. It has to understand what the teacher or the professor is saying or the trainer is saying, what they're trying to pass out the message. Third, low productivity. Because they are training in such big groups, such so many people, the productivity is low. They're not actually learning everything because they're just seeing the board and they're leaving. The productivity is low. Second one is mentoring. Good thing about mentoring, what is mentoring exactly? So if for example, a professor is the head of the department and he has two more partners or whatever. So each employee will be given to each manager so that he can learn from him. That's what mentoring is about. What are the advantages? The good thing about mentoring is like you will get instant feedback. Whatever you're learning, whatever you're trying to do, you get the feedback right away. Second good thing about mentoring is necessary guidance. You don't have to learn everything. You can learn what it is important for you, what it is going to be needed for you to learn for the job. Self development, it's not focused. So how I said, on job training is a group, mentoring is just one on one. So it's more focused on self development than based on just overall all people development. It is focused on just one person at a time. Disadvantages, it is subjective based. It is based on only one person's perspective. We don't know if it's true. It's only you went through that. That doesn't mean that's how it works. It's very subjective. Second one is generation gap hampers the process. Okay. What if professor didn't want me to be in his group or in his team, but I I didn't pick, you didn't pick, but I had to go with you. Mm-hmm. That becomes frustrating. That's another thing, like slow friction may lead to frustration. What is the number one reason of frustration? When things are not done in timely manner. If you're asking something and that person is not responding, that person is not working with the same pace as you do. So that's okay. Another disadvantage about mentoring is like you don't get the vibe, you don't get the pace. Mm-hmm. That's another reason of why mentoring is not very good. Okay. The third one is experiential training. The advantages of experiential training is a real-time training. You train, you work. There is more work, there is more productivity that way. So the time is not wasted. The second is higher retention rate. So when you're learning and you're working, you remember it. There's a higher retention rate. When you're just like OGT, you're just learning and then you have to go and work. You may forget few parts, but with experiential training, you are working as well as you're working on the project. So that's another thing. Third one is higher engagement rate. So when you're training and working at the same time, people are more focused. Like how professor just said, okay, make advantages and 3 slides for what do you call training methods. Yeah. So this is like going hand by hand. That way we remember it. So that's why the engagement rate is higher. What are the disadvantages? Time consuming. Okay. Because you're learning and working at the same time, mm-hmm. You're taking more and more and more time to learn and to work. So that way you're losing a lot of time. Second thing is It's only good if it's you are like real-time learning. If you're doing a virtual learning or you're doing e-learning and working at the same time, it becomes really difficult. For example, my sister, she used to work for Deloitte. So they used to work in the office. Now she's working in Canada, but she's working for a smaller company. She's working from home.
Okay.
And she's doing individual taxes. She used to do corporate taxes. So she doesn't know much. And there is no trainings. There's no experience and training at the same time. So that's another reason why it's only good for like real time. It's not good for virtual training. Third one is the continuous feedback for effective results. You have to constantly get the feedback. That consumes time. Like, okay, I'm doing this. Boss, is this right? Is this wrong? Is this right? You have to constantly wait for the feedback and approvals and all that. That's another thing that experiential training is not very great. So these are the three advantages and disadvantages of all three methods. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Fatima. All right. Akeem, you ready, my man?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I'll be talking about the two types of training, which is the instructor-led training, the hands-on training, and the e-learning or the online training. The online training is actually where we are today, and this has to do with what we're doing right now. It actually complements what we used to have as computer-based training, and many companies with employees in various locations across the globe rely on such technologies. E-learning relies on online videos. Like this is a Zoom is a video software which we're using right now. For tests and courses. To deliver employee training. It's web-based. Like the methods puts the CBT, the computer-based training, on the web.
Okay.
So you're able to connect across the world. Actually, the one we're using right now is teleconferencing. The software we're using, which is Zoom, is the video conferencing rather. Which allows the trainer to be in one location and the trainees to be scattered in several locations and to get what they're to get. We also have web meetings, collaborative preparations. And the advantages of this is simply that it's effective for training across multiple locations. I mean, we're all witnesses to that. Without all these online video conferencing software, we might not have been able to do that. Back in the days before the software was prevalent, they used telecommunication, video conferencing, telecommunication tools as well, or analog tools. They saved the company money. We all know that it should have been saving Mirama a lot of money right now, because Mirama would have been doing a lot of sanitization and all those preparations for COVID, whatever, to prevent dangers and things like that. But this is saving a lot of money, for California Mirama University. They are less expensive. All you need is your hardware, your software, and the network. And they're good for self-directed learning. There will be a video at the end of the day. So if I have issues, I'll be able to go back and check what to relearn what has been learned. Quickly, the disadvantages has to do with it requires a trainee to be computer literate. Like, let's imagine Zoom has issues today, and we have to use, or maybe there's a virus that attacked Zoom and the whole thing crashed. We have to relearn another software, even though we are all IT literate. So the literacy is not for you to learn computer 101. It's to be conversant with the software. And that is exactly what we are seeing right now, the sharing process, how to share the screen. We're having issues because we're not conversant. Not that we don't know how to use Zoom, but we have to, go through it, and it takes some time. They're usually generic and not customized to your needs. That was actually the issue which I raised in the first instance. Because of our time, I might not be able to revert back to that. But the issue of you learning a software and going to another company and we're learning another software because of generic issues. Then the second training is the instructor-led training. This is where the actor stays and the spectator sits. You know, that is actually what it's all about. The students, it's mostly not interactive. The lecturer has the presentation and he presents to let's not use the word lecturer. The knowledge, the person with the knowledge has the tools and he presents it to the novice, those who don't know about it or who are willing to learn about the knowledge. So it's a personal face-to-face type of training, you know, as opposed to the online training. You've got to be face-to-face. It ensures that everyone gets the same information at the same time. That's an objective. It's cost effective, and it's a storytelling process. You know, you sit down, you're relaxed with your students, and it's not like Zoom where you're checking your time because Zoom is going to time you out or something like that. Right. The disadvantage is that it's not interactive. Mostly it's not interactive because, it depends. Now it depends on the lecturer. That's where the second disadvantage comes in. It depends on the lecturer to make it interactive or not. And the scheduling of classroom sections for large number of trainees can be very difficult. This is what we're talking about right now. You know, how do you, in COVID, in pandemic periods, how do you schedule such classroom instructor-led training? It's going to be very difficult. Then the third one is the hands-on, which as Fatima said, it's experiential. Okay. Or, you know, training. Yeah. You know, which offers the techniques. So there's a cross training. You know, it employs the employee experiences what the manager has been able to experience over time, you know, within the organization. And there's a demonstration. It's an attention grabber. You know, there are excellent ways to teach employees to use new equipment because of the attention grabbing. The coaching, the coach, the manager is able to realize the weaknesses of each of the employees and will be able to attend to their needs as the case may be. Apprenticeship, it gives the employer the opportunity to shape inexperienced workers, like I said, you know, to fit existing or future jobs, depending on, and there's a drill. You're able to, you're satisfied, you're prepared for it. It prepares you for what is to come. So that is, those are some of the advantages. The disadvantage is that they are not good for large groups. Like in schools, most schools in Africa, we have like 200 students in you know, 200 employees to a trainee, and it becomes to a trainer, and it becomes a lot of problem, you know, with that. If each don't have the tools to use. The apprenticeship can be very expensive, especially, you know, it's time taking. The guy training, you will need him for another job, but he's doing this job right now, so it's going to be very difficult. Those are the 3 training methods, which I
okay. All right. Thank you, King. All right. Who's next? Femi? Edith, you said you're in your car, right?
Dr. Kemi?
Yeah.
I'm driving. I'm sorry.
Oh, Kemi, you're driving.
Femi.
Okay, Kemi, you're driving. Okay.
Femi is the one driving.
Kemi's driving. Okay, Edith, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
One moment, please. Okay, so I will be talking. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 3 teaching methods that I've selected, there are so many.
Yeah.
Include demonstration, lecture, and role playing. And I'll talk about their usefulness and their drawbacks. Those are their disadvantages. So the very first point is that adopting multiple techniques will enhance learning, especially among adults. And that is very important. So no one strict method is, we can say is good for learning. It will be a combination that will be good. So the first method is demonstration. And we use this a lot in medical practice. So it could be either methodical or result. So we could either demonstrate a method of doing things, or we could demonstrate the result of an experiment.
Okay.
But it's good for solving a single problem that we have at hand. For instance, a very current problem that everybody is trying to solve is the coronavirus. So some experiments have demonstrated that vaccine works, and that's demonstration of results. And some have demonstrated that there are methods that you can use to sequence the virus to get the vaccine. So we could be demonstration could be either methodical, how you do something, or result-based, which is the final result if you do it this way. So, but the only drawback is that it's only used to solve a single problem at a particular point in time. You can't have several topics. Okay. It can only be a topic that you want to demonstrate so that your participants or your learners can assimilate the result or the method. But it's always good to show that something works or does not work, so that's the very first one. The second method is lecture, which is a good method if you are looking at covering several aspects within a short period of time. So lecture approach gives you an opportunity to cover basic aspects of a topic or of a situation or happening. It covers broad topics. And the good part of lecture is that it could be audio, it could be visual, it could be audio, it could be periodic, so it could take any form. But the drawback is that it's only good for formal settings where you have the lecturer on the podium and the students or the participants or the recipients well arranged in an arranged setting. I can't go to a market, maybe there's a program, maybe a healthcare program, and I want to educate the market women on how to put their nets on. In Africa, we have a lot of mosquitoes, and we teach a lot of women on how to hang their nets. I cannot use lecture method to hang nets in a marketplace, Yes, so that's the drawback. It's boring for adults, and it will not include demonstration, except if you use some video recording, which is not practicable in certain settings like grassroots. But it's always a good setting in formal settings. You have workshops, trainings, and you could use lecture approach. So the last one I'll talk about is role playing. We do this a lot among students, especially medical-based students. If you want to know if this concept has been adopted, or if you want to know if learning has actually taken place. So it's good to obtain feedback too. It's a very good method of obtaining feedback, and is a good method for observation. If principles are being followed strictly, if methods are being adhered to, for instance, let me use a simple one, hand washing technique. If we have a workshop on infection control, the first thing they want you to demonstrate is hand washing. And they don't just want you to demonstrate, they want you to be the one playing the role of the teacher and teaching other students how to wash hands effectively and correctly. So, but the drawback is that it may become clumsy if the groups are many, and it requires close monitoring. So it requires like a teacher to sit down with the group and make sure that the role is properly played. So you can't use it in multiple group settings, because people will just be doing role playing and nobody to monitor and make sure that this is adequately done. And so that's basically what I found out. And so thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Good information. All right, Femi, all yours. Me there, Femi?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, Cammy, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Cammy. I'm sorry. I was saying Femi. I meant Cammy.
Okay. The first one I read about is films and videos training.
Okay.
There's a lot of ways whereby you can actually train your employees with films and video. You find something interesting
Mm-hmm.
for them. You try to put pictures. You try to put videos.
Cammy, still there? Cammy? No, I think we lost Cammy. Cammy? Okay, Cammy's gone. Oh, she'll come back. Okay. She's gonna come back here. All right. Let's see if Cammy comes back. In the meantime, so anyone have any questions about what we discussed as far as training and development and that kind of thing? No? Cammy, you back? No, not yet. Okay. Anybody have any questions as far as work,
Yes.
schoolwork? Yes, ma'am.
The final draft, do we have
Yes.
to submit by the end of this week, or can we get another week, please?
So let me talk about the final draft, okay?
Because it's impossible to finish, to be honest.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, don't try to give me like your finished work. Don't try to finish the paper this week, all right?
Okay.
The final draft is just a draft of what you have so far. Okay? So don't put any pressure on yourself to give me a complete paper when you're not done with it yet, right? The final draft is really just for me to see where you're at, kind of look at the things that you're doing, and then give it back to you like, hey, look at this or look at that or that kind of thing. So don't stress out about it being done and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So submit what you have when it's, take till Sunday, submit what you have, and that's fine. Because I don't expect you to be done with the paper. The final draft, it's week 5. The paper's not due to week 8.
Because
Doesn't mean-
usually Dr. Mariam, she gives us 2 weeks.
yeah.
She extends the dates for us.
It's end of the day, yeah. I don't necessarily to me, I like the final draft because I want to see what direction you're going in, but I don't expect the paper to be done. So I would recommend just whatever you have on Sunday, submit it instead of prolonging it till next week, because now you have the final draft and you have whatever else is due next week on top of it, right? Just submit the final draft. Let me see what you got. You're gonna get points. The way I score the final draft is as long as you submit the final draft, whatever you have, you're gonna get the full points. Because I'm gonna go in. I really just want to see. It's not to really take points away, just to see where you're at and make sure that everything is on track. So. So submit what you have. Don't worry about giving me a finished product or something that's close to finished. I know you're not going to be finished. Some people haven't even started a title page yet. So, so be cognizant of that. Don't put any pressure on yourself, when it comes to those aspects. Just send me what you have on Sunday, submit it on Sunday, and then you're good to go. Hey, that's for everybody. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I haven't seen the case study yet. It's usually like in week 3 or week 4, I guess, but I haven't seen it. Do we have it or no?
Yeah, the case study you should have seen the case study in week 2. I think it was week 2 was the case study. But the thing is, the case study is extended from week 2, I guess, and you have till week 6 to do it.
I didn't see the case study
You
at
didn't
all.
study at all?
Mm-mm.
Let me double
It's
check.
in week 3, but I did not see it. That's what like what's going on. I did not see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, let me double check. Let me see, because the case study should have been week 2 or week 3, and you get 2 weeks to do it.
Is it like a group or is it individual?
Yes, no, it's a
Thank
group.
God.
Yeah, it's a group case study. And so let me check on that. Okay, and I'll get back to you guys. And if it's not, then you guys didn't see it, then I'll just give you time to do it, or I'll make it short. That way, it's not taking up too much time. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. If Tima, do me a favor, send me an email on it. Just say Dr. King reminded, check on the case study. So,
Okay. I'll send you by tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions?
Is the case study group work or individual?
It is group work from what I recall, but let me double check and I'll let you guys know by, if not tonight, tomorrow morning for sure, if it's group, but it should be group. Normally it's group.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? No? All right. Yes, ma'am?
Then you didn't grade my justification that I submitted.
So I don't know what's going on with Moodle.
Yeah, mine either.
Yeah, I graded everybody's stuff. Everybody got a grade in the system. But I don't know why it's not populating on your side. So what I suggest you do is submit
I think we need to talk with
Should I send a mail to Marcelo?
yeah,
Or
yeah, exactly. I think we need to talk with Marcelo.
Yeah, talk to Marcel because I graded everything so far. The only thing I haven't graded, I think, is what
this
is?
week's learning engagements or last week's learning engagement?
Yeah, I haven't graded that yet. That's it. Aside from that, everything else is graded. Everybody.
Mine showed graded, but it shows F.
Yeah, no, yours is graded. Just the grades aren't showing up. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
I have
good.
no idea. On my side, it's fine. Everybody got if you submitted it, unless there was something really wrong, everybody got all the points. Everybody got an A on it. Just to
I
make it
think it's a server issue.
yeah, I think it's something with the Moodle. I don't know what it is exactly,
So
but
do we contact?
contact
Do we
Marcelo.
Okay.
Yeah, so then he can kind of see maybe something I don't have turned on, but all the other grades are showing except for that grade. So I don't know what's going on with it. So, but on my side, all the grades are there. So everybody got, I think, for the most part, got an A for the justification. Okay. So if you want to know your individual grade, just send me an email, and I'll send it to you. But hopefully, send an email to Marcelo so that he can check into it because it's something with Moodle. I'm not sure what. Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
No problem. Anything else? No. Okay. I will see you guys next week. Okay. And thank you for all your good participation today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Prof.
No
Thank
problem.
you. All right,
Okay.
bye.
Bye.